Hi, my name is Leris and I'm glad to be able to share this health nugget with you today. I'd like to ask you the question, what happens when the lights go out? If I told you that you had tomorrow off and it was a public holiday, what is the first thing that you would do? You can answer?
I don't know.
Maybe start planning a list of things you'd like to do?
No.
Well, whenever I ask my students this question, they almost unanimously answer, sleep. And it's a top priority on their list. How many hours a night do you sleep? 3, 4, 6, 12, 7 hours a night? Okay. And you?
10 or 11.
Oh, I'm not sure about 11, but yeah, about 10 hours a night. So we get a large variety of hours that everyone sleeps. And Focus Taiwan has done a study, I'm sleeping for the weekend, has done a study on the average hours of sleep per day of students in Taiwan. And the average hour of most students in Taiwan is 6.8 hours. When I first heard this, I was surprised. Does not seem to be what my students do. I think if they excluded the hours that my students slept on the weekends, then it would be even lower per night, a lower average. This is including weekends and nap times. So the article also notes that most of these people spend about 8 hours on their 3C devices. Laptops, iPads, cell phones. That's more hours than they're sleeping. So we're supposed to sleep about a third of our day, and they're spending more than that on 3C devices. Another article on sleep statistics in Taiwan says that youth between the ages of 15 and 24 spend an extra 1.5 hours on Sunday sleeping, and less than that on Saturday. And between the hours of 9 and 6 a.m., fewer students say that they sleep. That means they stay awake at night. So the percentage has now increased with the amount of students that are staying awake between 9 and 6 a.m., specifically on weekends. It seems that the students in Taiwan have turned into a generation of night owls. It doesn't get any better in Korea. I remember going to Korea, and while I worked there, I was told that Seoul is the city that never sleeps. Some people, there's always something happening, it's always busy. Some people even get on the last train into the city to go shopping all night until the first train starts up again in the morning, and they take that train home, back to work or straight to school without having slept. 24-hour internet cafes are another popular activity in Korea, and students will game all night, get up in the morning after an hour's sleep and go straight to school, sometimes without sleeping. One other thing that amazed me about the students in Korea is something that you could probably suppose. After all this sleeplessness, they could fall asleep anywhere. Every time we got on the subway, the entire subway was sleeping. In fact, in a study published in the Korean Journal of Pediatrics, it said that high school students tended to go to bed later and get up earlier, with most of them taking naps during the day. Probably in my English classes, if I remember correctly. So, as you can see, many of us are really sleep deprived, and we're going about our daily routines with a sleep deficit. daytime sleepiness is a sign of sleep deprivation. Too extreme, you say? 24 hours is not your thing? Well, many of us stay up long after the lights are out, scrolling on our phones, even lying in bed scrolling. Have you ever woken up to go to the bathroom just to check your phone again? Or woken up, felt restless, checked your phone to see if you had any messages at 3 in the morning? Look familiar? What do you feel when you hear this sound? What emotions do you get?
So noisy.
Noisy? Fear? Surprise? Frustration?
Irritating.
Irritating? You want to throw it across the room?
No. I want to switch it off as fast as I can.
Switch it off as fast as you can, hit the snooze button. Alarms for me cause a lot of frustration, stress, and even shock. It seems our lives are regulated by alarm clocks. And it's constantly the rhythm of life. Rush, rush, rush. Go here, go there. Fast paced. There's not enough hours in the day. Not enough time to rest. Never mind sleep. The Monday morning syndrome. I hate Mondays. But what is the rhythm of the natural world? This constant stimulus, this rushing way of things, is this the rhythm of nature? No. Nature follows cycles. One cycle is the day-night cycle, the circadian rhythm. Day ends at sunset with a night for rest, to begin again the next morning at first light, with renewed energy. Before campfires, before candles, before electricity, once the sun had set, there was nothing to do but sleep. And work ceased for the period of darkness called night. Then, when it became light, one awakened, refreshed and ready to begin a new day. When last have you woken up, ready to meet the dawn? When last have you gotten up with the sun? It seems in this artificial world that we have created, we've forgotten this natural cycle of things. As you can see on this chart of circadian rhythms, melatonin secretion stops in the early morning and starts about 2 to 3 hours after sunset. If sunset's about 6 or 7, 9 o'clock, melatonin secretion starts. Melatonin is called the sleep hormone, and it helps our bodies regulate and sleep. Studies have shown that exposing the eyes to the setting sun at night and not using artificial lights or 3C devices about 2 hours before bedtime will help our melatonin production, and we'll be able to sleep much better as this baby is enjoying his sleep. So when we awaken, we'll find that we're more productive and more alert with less stress. How long should we be sleeping? The American Academy of Sleep Medicine recommends that adults get an average of 7 to 8 hours a night. They also recommend that one does not sleep less than 6 hours or more than 8 hours a night, as this could be bad for your health. So here is a chart that shows us the recommended age sleep times for children, 10 to 12 hours a night. And this is for all ages from infants, which is 12 to 16 hours, all the way through to adults. In Wildwood, we learned that the recommended sleep time is 8 hours, and I tend to agree with that. 8 to 9 is a good restful sleep for me. So, why should one sleep this long? Well, sleep is important. It is while we're sleeping that our body is busy growing, building, producing, restoring balance, and repairing. It's not our imagination when our growing children seem to awaken in the morning taller than the day before, practically outgrowing their clothes overnight. Lack of sleep has the opposite effect on our health. lack of sleep tends to, according to a study in Taiwanese men by the Taiwanese government, it was found that long working hours and short sleep duration were connected with an increased risk of acute coronary heart disease. And another study done by ScienceDirect.com said that mortality rates are higher in people who sleep less than 7 hours or more than 8 hours. These people have a higher risk for coronary heart disease and type 2 diabetes, as well as drowsiness during the day and waking up tired. So this chart that I have here shows the poor habits that are connected to lack of sleep. People who don't sleep much tend to smoke more, exercise less, they don't eat breakfast regularly, and of course they tend to eat more. A good night's sleep, on the other hand, is very beneficial in avoiding these diseases and will give you better attention span, give you more positive feelings, less stress, better health. But it's not just how long you sleep that's important. You see, if you don't sleep for one night, you get emotional problems. If you don't sleep for 2 nights, you get a tendency to be susceptible to disease. 3 nights, your blood pressure increases and your heart rate increases and you start to experience heart troubles. But more than just the length of sleep is the quality of sleep. Keeping up with the rhythm of life, keeping in the routine and the habits. Sleep goes through different stages and it goes through cycles. And you cannot just say, I will catch it up on the weekend or I'll catch it up during the day. Daytime sleep doesn't produce melatonin, and sleep after midnight also does not give you the deep sleep or the melatonin that you need. For example, this chart shows you 2 different stages of sleep: non-REM sleep and rapid eye movement sleep, REM sleep. Non-REM sleep is slow wave sleep. It's a time when you start to fall asleep, start to relax and sink deeper and deeper into sleep. It has 4 stages, and the 3rd and 4th stage are the deepest. The 5th stage is the REM stage, and you cycle back and forth through them during the nights. As you can see, here you go down the 4th stage, you come back up to the awake stage of REM sleep, you go back down into deep sleep. But the deepest part of your sleep and the longest period is before midnight. So the hours before midnight, the uninterrupted sleep, the quality sleep is more important almost than the length of your sleep. When you sleep well, you're able to strengthen the immune system. When you don't, your system starts to produce the stress hormone called cortisol. Cortisol causes more anxiety and stress. It causes insomnia, which then, when you don't sleep enough, causes more cortisol and starts the vicious cycle all over again. And it is important to go through this full cycle several times during the nights so that you can feel rested. Have you ever woken up and felt as if a freight train is ridden over you? Have you ever gone to sleep and thought, tonight I'm going to go to bed early and I'm going to go to bed at like 8 and sleep 12 hours? But when you wake up only after 4 hours midnight, you feel, oh my goodness, I'm so tired and I can't get back to sleep. The problem there is that you've messed up the natural rhythm of your body. Natural sleep rhythms are like habits. They take time. And I'm sure all of you have traveled overseas, right? Have you experienced jet lag?
Yes.
When you have jet lag, your body doesn't know if it's day or night. And when you tell your body it's night and I need to go to sleep, it just wakes up and refuses to sleep. When we stay up late and don't follow our natural rhythm, we have a problem and we are messing up the natural rhythm of our body and creating new habits. It takes time. One has to reset your body clock so that it can work well. If I were to tell you that I don't use an alarm clock anymore to wake up, that I don't need it, you might be shocked and surprised. But I've started waking up the same time every morning, and